YouTube. So it is Elizabeth back again with another video. For those of you who are new, my name is Elizabeth, or Zabe, the middle of my name, is my nickname. So Nurse Zabe channel name, just rebranded. But I am a labor and delivery nurse and a certified childbirth educator, and I make videos on labor, postpartum, breastfeeding, and some other fun mommy things. As a lot of you might be aware, but some of you probably are not, October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. So it is a month where we remember all of the babies that left this world too soon, either through miscarriage, stillbirth, SIDS, or death in the newborn period. And I know this is a topic that can be a little bit tricky to talk about. And in no way do I want to put stress on all of you pregnant mamas, but just kind of remembering that 1 in 4 women experiences some sort of infant loss at some point in their life. I myself have had a miscarriage, which is something that was really difficult for me. And just being aware that, you know, if you have a friend sitting here and a friend sitting here and a friend sitting there, probably one of you has experienced something, and just being sensitive during this month. And if you have friends that you know of who've experienced pregnancy or infant loss, just touch base with them, see how they're doing. A lot of times this is not a pain that gets better, but you just learn how to deal with it better. And so just touching in with a friend can be a really special thing. And for all of you mamas out there who have lost a pregnancy or lost an infant, I just want you to know that your labor nurse carries around a little piece of you guys in their heart every day. I remember every single loss that I have been a part of the delivery process, and I remember the mamas and the daddies and the babies, and just know that they have a little piece of our hearts. And just because it seems like the world has forgotten, they haven't. And you are so, so loved, and I'm so sorry for what you've gone through. So with that being said, this month I'm going to donate a percentage of my earnings from YouTube to Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep, which is an amazing non-for-profit volunteer-based photography group that actually has professional photographers come in and take pictures so that these moms and dads have something to take home with them, because they don't get to take their baby home with them. So some pictures of them with their beautiful, beautiful babies. So yeah, I'm going to be donating some money to that from my October earnings. And so if you want to help, I will leave the link where you can donate to Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep. But one other way you can help is just by watching my videos, commenting on them, giving thumbs up. That helps with the YouTube algorithm, and so more people see them. More people, more views, more money to donate. So anyway, thank you guys so much for just being around and for being such a supportive community for each other. I really appreciate everybody who's part of this community, and just the love and the kindness that I see in my comment section to each and every mama is out of this world. So way to go, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into my video, and this is a video that I have been kind of ruminating on. It's kind of so 10 questions that your labor nurse wants you to ask. I've had people say, well, what are good questions for me to bring up in my childbirth education classes? So these are definitely questions for that. These are also questions that you might want to consider before picking which hospital you deliver at or which provider you deliver with. Because if you have an option between hospital A and hospital B, these are some questions that you can use to kind of do the pros and cons of both hospitals and figure out what is going to work best for you and your labor and your baby. The very first question, and I'm going to kind of start with the ones that are more like about the hospital and then go from there. So the very first question that I want you to ask, especially if you have options between multiple hospitals, is what is the hospital's C-section rate? Okay, World Health Organization wants the C-section rate to be about 10 to 15%. They believe, and the research has shown, that about 10 to 15% of births do require cesarean deliveries, and anything above that doesn't affect infant or mother mortality and morbidity. So that is quite a bit lower than the US average, which is about 33%. And obviously that means that there are hospitals that are way over 33% in the US and hospitals that are way under. So clearly you kind of want to go somewhere that has a lower C-section rate. And to find information on the C-section rate, you can always Google your hospital C-section rate, but there is a great non-for-profit website called leapfroggroup.org. I'll put it in the iCard, that you can definitely go ahead and kind of look up and see what the C-section rate is for your hospital. So if you have an option between a hospital that has a 20% C-section rate and a 38% C-section rate, even if the 38% C-section rate hospital seems really pretty on the inside, you know, see how many deliveries each one of them does, but probably you're going to want to go to the one that has a better C-section rate, because that means less infections and probably less poor outcomes as well. So what is the hospital C-section rate? That might affect where you want to deliver. Next question I want you to ask, and again, this goes along with, you know, do we have more than one hospital in our community? What type of NICU does your hospital have? So there are different types of NICUs. There are level 1 hospitals that just have a well baby nursery, a level 2 hospital that has special care nursery. That's what my hospital is. And then the level 3 hospitals that have the full NICUs. And then level 4 hospitals, which are like the regional NICUs, which are like the big daddy hospitals. So depending on your history of your previous birth, depending on your medical history, are you high risk for any reason, it might affect where you want to deliver. And just keeping in mind, if you choose to deliver at a level 1 or a level 2 hospital, there is a possibility, if your baby needs more care, that you could be separated from your baby, because at least in the United States, at least where I have worked, the mom and the baby, if the baby has been delivered, do not often travel together. And if you've had a C-section, it is harder for you to leave significantly early from the hospital where you deliver. So something to keep in mind if that's going to affect where you want to deliver. Again, I delivered at a level 2 hospital. I felt very comfortable. I was low risk. I'd had a full-term delivery previously, but even before that with my first, I was low risk. And I knew that the level 3 hospital was a 10-minute ambulance ride away if needed, but something to consider for sure. Something else that I want you to kind of consider, and this is another thing, like if you have hospital options, does the hospital have an international board certified lactation consultant? Not all hospitals have the international board certified lactation consultant. Some hospitals just have lactation consultants, but because they are not international board certified, I'm not saying that all lactation consultants aren't great, but that extra certification kind of ensures that they have the knowledge base that they need to provide the best care for you. So if you can deliver at a hospital with an international board certified lactation consultant, that is definitely going to be the gold standard. That is going to be the goal, so that you can get your breastfeeding relationship off to the best start possible. Hey guys, it's future editing Elizabeth here. I just wanted to add something else I would like you to think about or know, and is that, are you at a teaching facility? Will there be students, residents, nursing students there? Are you comfortable having them? Would you be comfortable asking for them not to be there? Also, something else to consider is, are you going to be seeing a single provider who you see every single visit and they're who delivers you? Are you going to be seeing a group with a whole bunch of different providers, but you see a different provider at every appointment so you know everybody? Or are you going to be delivering at a facility where your provider might be there from 9 to 5, but then if you deliver after 5 p.m., you have a hospitalist there to oversee your care, somebody that maybe you've never seen before. Sorry, I'm trying to record this with my kids here. But these are all things that I definitely want you to consider before choosing your provider and choosing the hospital that you deliver at. So those are kind of all the questions when considering what hospital you want to deliver at that I want you to ask. I want you to research and look up. And if you're watching this video, chances are you love researching and looking things up. But some other questions that I would like to be asked before somebody comes into the hospital are things that you can definitely ask during your childbirth education classes. You can ask your OB, you can call the unit and ask to speak to a charge nurse. questions that are useful for you to know so that you can kind of plan what's going to happen. So one of those is, how many support people are allowed in your labor room? How many support people are allowed in the OR and PACU if you have a C-section? So, for example, my hospital has a very strict 3-visitor labor policy, and that is because labor and delivery, most of the time it's fine, it's beautiful. It can become emergent quickly, and if you have a lot of people in there, that can become an issue. So knowing that before you go in and picking your 3 people before you go in means that you're not going to be worried about your 2 sisters who are sitting out in the waiting room crying because you can't have both of them in the room. And take it up to quiet time. Okay? And at our hospital, at least, doulas and birth photographers count in your count of people. And you can have 3 people and they cannot switch out. And the 3 people are the 3 people are the 3 people. Postpartum or after the baby's born, you can have as many people as you want. But in labor, it's a 3 people rule. And so it's just important to know that before you go in to have your baby so that you don't invite a whole bunch of people and then they're not allowed to come back. And it's an annoying rule, I know, and it seems silly, but if we make exceptions for one person, we have to make an exception for everybody. Similarly, in the OR or the PACU, because those are high risk areas and high risk for infection spreading and things like that, we only allow 1 support person. So typically it's just the father of the baby that goes in with them. Knowing these things beforehand is going to be really, really helpful in making sure that you are like mentally prepared and that people aren't going to be angry when it's always been the policy at wherever you're delivering. There's no reason to be angry, but people get angry and they get angry at the staff, and it's not our fault that we can't bend the policy. We don't make the policies. So another question that's nice to ask is, what is the policy on taking pictures or videos during the birth? Some places don't want you to take video, some places are fine, but you know, you have to do it from the head down and not like a crotch shot. So knowing that can be really helpful, especially if you're planning on having a birth photographer, which, oh, I wish I had a birth photographer with my kids because I think those pictures are so amazing. Definitely goals if we have a number 3. So it's important to know. Another question that can be really important to know, in the US at least, there is a certification called being a baby-friendly hospital. And being baby-friendly, they have a whole host of things about breastfeeding and about formula, but something else that they have going on is that they have no respite care nursery. The baby is with you for a minimum of 23 out of 24 hours a day. So it could get taken to a procedural area for like a circumcision or something like that, but the baby is going to be with you. So the hospital that I work at has a nursery. The other hospital in town does not have a nursery. And I see pros and cons to both. But I think sometimes having a nursery can be nice because if you've had a really difficult delivery, if you're very tired, the baby can go to the nursery and give you a little bit of rest before you go home and you have that baby with you all the time. The baby don't have to go to the nursery, but they have the option of going to the nursery if you would desire. So knowing whether or not where you're going to deliver has a nursery is definitely something I would want to know before I went in if I was expecting them to have one and then they did not. I personally didn't send my kids to the nursery, so no shame at all if you want to keep your babies with you, but just knowing whether or not you have the option before you go in, I think, is important. Something else that I think is really important to know is, what are your options for pain control? Do they have a tub? Do they have a TENS machine? Do they have nitrous oxide or gas? Do they have IV narcotics that you can use? Do they have the anesthesiologist in-house always available, or can he be at home and they have to call him and sometimes you have to wait 30 minutes? These are all questions that's important to know. Even if you're thinking, I don't want pain medicine, there are still non-pharmacological options that some hospitals have that other hospitals do not, such as having the tub or a shower. And then also, you know, so then also going off of that, where are you allowed to deliver? Are the nurses and physicians receptive to different pushing positions? Do they have devices to help you labor better and push better, such as birthing balls in the room? Do they have peanut balls? Do they have squat bars? Are you allowed to deliver in the water there? I think in my 10 things your labor nurse wants you to know video, I talked about how we can't do tub deliveries, and I talked about how difficult our tubs are to clean. But I found out recently another reason why we are not legally allowed to do tub births in our facility, if at all possible, obviously sometimes babies come, is that you have to have access on 3 sides of the tub for safety reasons, to be able to do tub births in at least the state that I live in, if not the United States globally. Going off of that, something else that I think is really important to know before you go in is what are the monitoring policies of your facility? So at my facility, when people come in, we want to get them on the monitor. They don't necessarily have to get on the bed, but we just want a reactive tracing. We want accelerations. We want moderate variability. We want to make sure that the baby looks happy and healthy and safe and is reacting to the labor contractions appropriately and not showing us any signs of fetal distress. After that, we can Doppler every 30 minutes. We can Doppler through pushing. You might not be back on the monitor again, just depending on, you know, if the Dopplering sounds good, if we're not hearing any audible decels with using the Doppler. There are some facilities where they let you do 20 minutes on the monitor and then 40 minutes off the monitor. 20 on, 40 off, 20 on, 40 off. You'd want to know that that was going to happen before you come in, especially if you're not planning on having an epidural. Now, once you get an epidural, you are continuously monitored, but before that, it's obviously a lot harder to get up and move around and deal with the contractions if you don't realize how much monitoring their policy recommends. So knowing what the monitoring policy is can be very, very helpful. The very last thing that I want you to ask for or ask about before you come in to deliver is a list of things that the hospital provides. I think my last videos, what I really learned is that obviously not all hospitals have all the same stuff. Some hospitals in the United States are not going to provide you with pads and underwear, which I was not aware of. Everywhere that I've worked has. So if you can get a printout list of everything that the hospital provides, and they probably also have a printout list of everything that they recommend that you bring, those 2 things can be really, really, really lovely. And I still think my recommendations are awesome, obviously. But that way you know for sure what they're gonna have. If you need to bring diapers for your baby, it would be kind of nice to know that beforehand. Thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely make sure, if your heart feels called to it, to look at the Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep website and see if your heart calls you to donate. I know that the moms and the families who receive those pictures are really thankful for them. And birth on. Bye guys.